Welcome to another episode of To The Bottom. Tonight's guest is Dan Waite.
He plays guitar in a band called Treaty of Paris, and he does graphic design and artwork for Riot Fest. And he's an all-around cool dude. Really good.
Hello.
Returning guest.
Returning guest.
Yeah. For the second time.
Yeah.
That's more than anybody ever.
You're going to be like...
It's our first time repeat guest. This is a historic moment. So welcome.
Thank you. I think last time me and the Treaty of Paris guys were in here for maybe 10 minutes total.
It was quick. It was too quick.
We provided you with the reenactment of Eddie Money calling Ronnie Spector to convince her to sing on the song Take Me Home Tonight. And I did the voice of Eddie Money, and our bassist Brandon did the voice of Ronnie Spector. And
it was well done.
We thought it was very funny. I don't know if it was, but we had fun.
It was one of the funniest things that's ever happened on this RV. And I think I can say that with confidence.
Well, to set it up a little bit, we're in the parking lot, the Walmart parking lot in, where are we?
We're in Forest Park.
Forest parking lot.
And on the
parking lot of the Walmart parking lot and Forest parking lot.
And on the way here, we saw probably about 20 ambulances and
some squad cars.
And I'm a little afraid that we might get jumped.
I think I heard what happened was somebody got too many Italian beefs at the Portillo's over here.
Oh, is that what it was?
It was a little underpants accident kind of thing. Got out of control. Right in the middle of the street, blocked traffic and everything. It's crazy.
Well, so I was thinking a little bit on the way over here, Dan, and one of the things that I thought about is, so we know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
But we go really far back. I happen to be going through, since these California fires have been happening, we were supposed to be in California for my brother's art show.
Right.
And we ended up canceling our flights. He canceled the show, obviously. And so while this was all unfolding, I started thinking to myself, all these poor people lost all this stuff, their homes, everything. And I'm thinking, like, if something would ever happen to me, my life is a mess. Like, I have stuff all over the place. So I decided to start going down into my basement and going through things and just kind of like trying to like declutter and stuff like that. And one of the things I stumbled upon was a huge box of old flyers from shows from the beginning of time of us being bands. And your first band was in many of shows with us throughout the day. I don't know how long. So take us to your first band and kind of like give us a little bit of background history of like how it started and then where you ended up now performing. You're
talking about Empyrean.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. The band name that no one could pronounce.
That's why I was letting you do it.
I pronounced it Empyrean forever, and I was always unsure if I was getting it right. And I'm glad now that you've confirmed. Like,
he's on to us.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So Empyrean.
Imperium.
Yeah, there you go.
Empyrean with
Empyrean.
an N.
See, I screwed it up already.
That was the biggest issue. Everyone said because people think it's the word Imperium.
Okay.
But it's Empyrean, which is a synonym for Nirvana or like the highest heaven. It's also the name Empyrean Isles is a Herbie Hancock record.
Shit. So for like 25 years we've been saying it wrong.
Well,
no, I've been saying it right.
I've been saying it wrong.
You've been saying it wrong.
Most people say it wrong, and it all culminated. We were on Q101. We were performing on, I think it was their morning show at the time. It was Woody, Tony, and Ravy.
Oh, wow.
Was the name of the morning show. That's a throwback. And so they had us live in the Lava Lamp Love Lounge, and we performed a couple songs, and they couldn't get our name right, and so they were just making fun of us on air. And so they were like, you know what? How about we just call your band name Rhymes with E? Rhymes with E. That's your new band name. And we were so embarrassed. And that was the beginning of Treaty of Paris. We had that experience, and we were like, guys, this is a sign. We need to ditch the band name, probably write some new songs. We had just performed a Halloween set as Weezer. And when we went back to playing our own songs, we were like, oh my God, our songs suck compared to Weezer songs. So we were like, this is the sign. The Q101 DJs trashed our band name. we don't enjoy playing our songs anymore after learning all these incredible Weezer Blue Album and Pinkerton songs. So, guys, I've been talking to my friend Phil Kosh from Seraphine. Sounds like their band is ending imminently, and Phil was looking to move on. We'd been friends with them for a while. Everything came together. No more Empyrean. Treaty of Paris was born, and Phil came up with the band name. But yeah, there were a lot of flyers, probably from 1999 to 2003 with Empyrean on them.
Here, I got a couple right here that I'll show you and take you down memory lane. Do you remember playing with the Brockmeyers, the Plain White Tees, Roy G. Biv, 007, and Black Orchid at Enchanted Castle in Lombard, Illinois?
Yes. I remember that show. Was that in 99?
I don't know. It just says May 8th.
Well, I was in the Brockmire, so...
holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of... When I was going through this box of flyers, I started realizing, like, we've been playing shows with each other for way longer than we probably even knew that we were actually playing shows with each other.
I have a vivid memory, an image in my head. I don't remember the room, but it was a show where... backdrop.
Right.
Empyrean, we played a show with you guys, and I remember just thinking that you in particular look so cool, and I was like, man, that guy in backdrop is so cool. We're so
like, sure you weren't? It's probably Darren.
It had to be Darren.
It might have been, but I was like, oh man, look, like those backdrop guys, like they got the cool thing going on. And at that point, like, we were just trying to just network and be friends with any band we could. We were trying to get on shows. I remember Tom Higginson was at that show, and Mike Shorvat from Empyrean and Treaty of Paris, and I approached him, and I'm sure we just looked like hungry dogs to him. And we were like, hey, Tom. And he was like, hey, guys. And he was like, 1 second. And he turned around he like waved to someone behind us. He was like, probably Darren or something, was like, hey, and just walked to the other side of the room. We were like, got it.
Well, don't feel bad. I'm in a band with him, and that's pretty much how he treats me all the time.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. I'll get back to you. Wait, that guitar riff? I'll get back to you.
That show?
He's so nice to us now, but I mean, back then
that's good.
we were like, okay, we still have some climbing to do up the chain of local bands.
Well, I think we were all. Sorry, Mike. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say, was that show possibly Wednesday, April 25th at the NIU Home Student Center, Carl Sandburg Auditorium, with Penny and the Loafers, the Dog and Everything, Backdrop, and ATM, aka Amazing Transparent Man.
Wednesday, April 25th.
NIU out in DeKalb.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, these shows are. I have a stack.
That one I don't remember, and that's crazy how your memory just casts things out.
Well, that's what this podcast is all about today. So, like, I started realizing, like, dude, we've been playing shows together for 25 years on and off here and there. You know what I mean? But, like, for some reason, I feel like I was talking about this with Mark Rose a little bit too. There was like this group of bands in Chicago doing their thing over here. We were all doing it together at the same time, but there was little groups that would play more shows with each other than the other ones would.
Yeah.
And then it was like Swizzle Tree, us, this and that. We would do these shows. But in the early days, it was everybody. And then it started kind of grouping off. Like, you know, and then we'd play Metro Friday. You guys would play Metro Saturday or something. You know what I mean? It was like, for some reason, as we got more into it, our networking groups started to kind of like find your own clique with your own friends or whatever, and then like you guys were doing this on that night, we were doing this on that night, and we never kind of joined back up, I feel like, until kind of like now, like these last couple of years.
I kind of feel like that scene just got so big, and everybody, you know, was playing shows, so many shows, that it became impossible. You can't keep track of like 60 bands, like, oh, you know,
right?
You get a show, whoever's around is going to play the show, and somebody else has got another show, you know.
Yeah, and we're talking 25 years later trying to remember all the shows.
Or who knows who was even putting a lot of those shows together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Brian Peterson, definitely, for a lot of those. But.
And Mark Allen.
Yeah, Mark Allen. Absolutely. I just found that CD while I was cleaning, too. The one with all of us for that little comp that he put out with everybody. There was
That's
us,
right.
Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
I mean,
But,
there's a ton of bands on there.
Who booked anybody at Enchanted Castle?
Well, I don't even know
Right?
who was the
It's-
booking agent there.
No,
Yeah.
did they have a booking agent, or was it just like, oh, we're showing up, we're going to play a show? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember back in those days, I was probably just getting the phone call from my bandmate saying, "Hey, we're playing Enchanted Castle in a couple weeks. Can you do it?" Yeah.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Buffalo Grove.
Buffalo Grove?
Yeah,
Okay.
I went to Buffalo Grove High School.
So how did you kind of like make your way from there into this kind of music scene with everybody? Like, where was did you move closer or?
Nope. Brandon Capitillo.
Wow.
Bassist from Treaty Paris. My locker was next to his girlfriend. She had a W last name. I have a W last name. Our lockers were next to each other for all 4 years of high school. And at some point, I think my sophomore year, Brandon started coming around during the passing periods because they were dating, and they would, make out and hug each other.
Do uncomfortable things around you.
PDA. And I remember being a sophomore. Brandon was a freshman, and he and his buddy showed up on the first day of school. Brandon had a Kill 'Em All t-shirt on, and his buddy had a Ride the Lightning t-shirt on, and I was like, "Oh, who are these fucking guys? Like, these guys can't like Metallica. I like Metallica."
Yeah.
I was like, I got my eye on these little punks. So then the Kill 'Em All guy ends up showing up to my locker 4 or 5 times a day. So just through serendipity, I was in a band at the time called Disorderly Conduct. And in Buffalo Grove or Arlington Heights, like right on the border, it was called the Jacob Duman Jewish Community Center. And this woman who put on like youth events there would put on battles of the bands. And, you didn't have to be Jewish to play. It was just a gymnasium to play battles of the bands.
Sure.
So Disorderly Conduct played a battle of the bands, and Brandon happened to be at the show for whatever reason. And he watched our set, and he approached me after and was like, "Dude, you're a great guitar player. You should consider joining my band. I'm in a band called Empyrean." And their other guitar player was this guy, Mike Van Opel. And apparently, I don't know how factual this is, but his dad had told him that he wanted him to focus more on the basketball team. And he didn't want him to waste his time playing in a band. That's what they told me anyway. And so they said, Mike Van Opel's leaving the band, even though he doesn't know he's leaving the band yet. And we want you to join. And my band, Disorderly Conduct, had just broken up because the guys were going to college, and they were like, we're done with this high school band. So Brandon, during one of the passing periods in high school, talking to his girlfriend, gave me his Walkman and said, "Hey man, listen to this demo. We just did a 4-track demo on Mike's Tascam. Check it out." And so play me this song, and I was like, "Whoa, this sounds awesome." And so I joined Empyrean, and that was like my gateway to all of this. And I think like the first local band that we really took notice of was the Plain White T's. The Plain White T's were sort of like it helped us have this epiphany that there are other bands out there doing this and having some success. And I think at some point, one of the guys saw the Plain White T's and they bought the Come On Over CD. And we listened to it in our car endlessly, and we were obsessed. And through Plain White T's, that's how we became aware of Lucky Boys Confusion. And what ended up happening was our drummer, Scott Hoft, was a student at NIU. And so he told us about this Battle of the Bands, and the first prize was you could open for Lucky Boys when they were playing the following month. So we were like, we have to win this thing. This is our foot in the door with the scene. Because we were striking out. We were not really getting many shows. And we won the Battle of the Bands. We got we got on the Lucky Boy show. They played at whatever, this like on-campus theater at NIU, and it was Lucky Boys, The Dog and Everything, and I want to say Close Enough.
Wow. And
we got to play first. So, we took advantage. We schmoozed with everybody. We introduced ourselves. We handed out our CD to every other band. I think maybe we exchanged CDs with The Dog and Everything, and then we listened to it in our car, and we were like, fuck, these guys are good. God damn it.
They are good. A little too good, right, Mike?
That's what we felt at the time. We were like, oh, this band's too good. But yeah, that was our way into the scene. We kind of forced our way in because we just loved what was happening.
Yeah, I love it. So basically you start Treaty of Paris now take me on that ride, because there's a lot to Treaty of Paris that I really don't know that much about. Again, this is kind of where I get a little lost, because I feel like I was saying, that we were all just kind of at this point so immersed in, everyone was at a different point of their career, I guess you want to call it, in music, that a lot of bands were popping up and doing things and kind of almost like unaware or unbeknownst to me that you guys were becoming a thing.
Yeah, I think that was true for a lot of people. I think we came out of left field.
So Phil calls you, or you join with Phil. Yeah,
Phil and I, Phil, I mean, he hits it off with every single person that he meets, because
wonderful human.
We call him the man of the people.
Right.
Treaty of Paris got put on. So Metro doesn't really do this anymore, but they would do the like Sunday night local shows that were like free, or you could bring the comp ticket, and they put us on one in like June 2001, and that was when Craig Teedy was booking there, and we were badgering him nonstop, and he was very candid and honest with us. He was like, guys, this demo you sent isn't it. He was like, you guys are showing promise. I can tell you're a good band, but stay in touch. I'm not going to book a show
totally Teedy
based on this. Yeah, and we were like, well,
he does not mince words.
No, but he wasn't rude in his email.
Yeah,
but he was very kind. But he was like, yeah, keep in touch. So whatever the next thing was that we put out, we sent it to him immediately, and what ended up happening was we went to go see this band that we had fallen in love with, this band called Diffuser, who were on tour with, or opening for, that band with the song Tangerine Speedo.
Oh, yeah. That was, man, I can't think of them right now, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Caviar. We went to the Caviar show with Diffuser. We were front row for Diffuser, sang along every word. They had a song on the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack. That's how we kind of got turned on to them. And so we bought the record when I think it came out on Hollywood Records, and they just totally nerfed it. Like, they put it out in January and didn't care about the band at all. So they were on this tour. They jumped down to the barricade after their set, and they were like, we love you guys. We want to hang out with you guys. Like, we don't have any fans in Chicago. This is insane. So this is back in the days of Metro, where like a band member could just escort you backstage, like without a sticky pass.
Sure.
So the bass player just kind of was like, yeah, they're with us. And so they escorted us backstage. And so it was this like defining moment of our lives. So we're like, oh my God, we're backstage at Metro. Oh, this is so cool. So there's some guy sitting on the couch. We're like, hey, who are you? And he was like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? I'm Matt Devine from Kill Hannah. We were like, the Kill Hannah guy's here. And then this other guy comes walking through, and we were like, hey, we're the band Empyrean. What's your name? And he's like, I'm Craig Teedy. And we were like, hey, Craig, nice to meet you. And you could tell he was kind of like, oh my God, how did these guys get back here?
Yeah.
And so we were like, you got to book us. He was like, I'll be in touch, guys. So I think that was like January 2001. So by June 2001 or July 2001, it was actually May. I remember getting the phone call on my college landline phone where you punch in the code to listen to your messages. I was like, Dan, this is Shorvat. You're not going to believe this. We got a show at Metro, buddy. We're playing in July. So he booked a show. It was Alistair, John Brown Battery, Empyrean, and Spitalfield.
Wow.
Insane.
Yeah. Talk about the lineup.
Yeah.
Like, what a lineup.
Yeah.
And we brought 250 comp tickets in, and we were told by their production manager that was an insane number for a local band to bring in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're like, 250 is like unheard of. Like, we're like, what's good? And they were like 100 tickets is good. They're like, you guys did very good tonight. We're like, are you going to have us back? They're like, we will definitely have you back.
Nice.
So, the point I'm getting to, I tell long stories. Sorry.
No, I love it.
They hit us up again, and they were like, hey, we're doing another show. This is with a band called Escape from Earth and another band called Seraphine. And if there was another band on the show, it's escaping me right now, but it was another 4-band bill. So they had us on the show, and at this point, we go through the load-in process. We did our line check. We're sitting backstage. I was literally reading one of the Lord of the Rings books in the dressing room because I was just trying to decompress.
Yeah.
And so one of the guys from Seraphine wanders into our dressing room, and he was like, "Hey man, what's up? I'm Scott Sweeney." And I was like, "Oh, who's this fucking guy?" Scott is now one of my closest friends.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
But I was like, "Oh, this band's going through the first Metro show jitters." I mean, the first time we played, we went in that employee band restroom.
Yeah.
I remember I was in one stall and Brandon was in the other, and he was like, "Hey Dan, is that you in there?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Dude, do you think Kurt Cobain took a shit in here?"
We did the same thing.
So we became instant friends with all the guys in Seraphine. I mean, Scott, Phil, Mike Kosh, Chad. It was just that moment where you just realize oh yeah, we're stepbrothers. Do we just become best friends? And so we felt like both of our bands were regarded similarly in the scene we were trying to break into, and that we were kind of outliers. And I remember I had Stubby's email, I had Tom's email, and we would email them all the time, you got to get us on a show. And they were always very polite, very nice. And there were so many bands that, they're like, well, sorry, we're going to give that show to Swizzle Tree,
Yeah. Yep. Those trying to book shows with each other became very difficult because I think I don't want to speak for Stubby, but if he was here, he would probably say whoever was working and digging and was trying to get out there and get a name for themselves, whoever he saw that was outside his show flyering, doing whatever, he was giving those opportunities to open for LBC because he knew you were putting in the time.
Yep.
And if you weren't doing that, he probably wanted to help the guys that just felt like they deserved it because they were out there.
That's exactly how he gave us our first opening slot on a Lucky Boy show. He had just seen us show after show, whatever it may have been at Metro, with the CDR and the little sleeves, just pass them out. And obviously he was a very well-known face on the scene, so we would always make sure we're like, "That's Dewey, give him a flyer, give him a CD." And so I think he was like, "Guys, I think I have 4 of these in my car," And I think it was 2003 he finally put us on a Lucky Boy show, which, as we all know, is a life-changing experience. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's your LBC has always been very kind that way. They took their success and they made sure that they brought people along with them. And for that, I'm very grateful for a lot of the backdrop shows. We were our first big show was with LBC.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that regards, they're really kind.
The other thing too is, LBC I think was at a point where if they're playing the Metro, they could kind of dictate who they want opening.
Yeah.
To some extent. But for most bands, my old band, Backdrop, for most bands it was you play any show you can get.
Yep.
And if it's quote unquote a real venue, you've got the Craig Teedies of the world dictating who's playing.
Yep.
And you can say, well, I'm really good friends with this other band, they're great. And he could say, yeah, well, go pound sand.
It's about selling tickets, bro.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm Craig Teedy.
Yeah.
And what I say goes. Or you're playing, a church basement or Enchanted Castle, wherever, a skate shop or somebody's uncle's airplane whatever. You play any show you get, and they're calling the shots, and you're just happy to be there.
Right.
So it's kind of... Plus, if you are putting on a show in your own basement or whatever, we all knew so many bands that it was like, okay, here's these 10 bands that I'm really close friends with, and who's available, and all that stuff. It's
Do you feel that you filled your soul up with the amount of... Do you feel happy that you did what you did, or are you still thirsting for more?
I think about this all the time. I work in the music industry, so I work for Riot Fest. I'm the art director / you call me the senior graphic designer / artist. I think all the time about aging bands, guys that are my age, in their 40s, still touring, still traveling, and I think about how much of a grind that was in my 20s, because Treaty of Paris did eventually... We got signed to a small label. We toured. We had a very busy 5-year run, and it was very much like the movie That Thing You Do, right? Where all of a sudden it's just gone in a flash, and you realize, oh, this band is over. But while it was happening, the grind didn't really seem that bad, because we were young, we were hungry, and we didn't really have any obligations. None of us were married, none of us had children. Now that I'm 42, and the best part of my day is when I come home and my 2.5-year-old daughter, greets me and runs into my arms, and I think, God, I'm glad that, I'm not making my living touring and traveling, and I'm gone for most of the year, like a lot of bands have to do. When I on the other side of that coin, when I do see bands that are still, doing it as they age, I'm a little envious. Like, man, I remember those days. I remember packing the metro, or just, waking up in a new city, playing a sold-out show, having a day off, and having a day off in LA, and eating a bunch of weed Rice Krispie treats. I miss all that stuff, but I look at my life trajectory and my career trajectory, and I'm glad I made the choices that I made, and I'm glad I got to have that short little run with Treaty of Paris that we have been working to build up to since we were 15, 16 years old. Post Treaty of Paris, I was able to establish a short run of solo EPs for myself, got to play some shows that way. I didn't really venture out beyond being a local artist, but last year I got asked to open for Ludo at their annual St. Louis Halloween show, and Chris from Treaty of Paris and I drove out and played acoustic guitar and cocktail kit set for 2,000 people, and I was like, this is awesome that I can still kind of put on my live music hat or whatever and get on stage and do it, but that I don't have to do it all the time, because I think at my age now, if I had to do it all the time, I don't know if I would love it as much.
Yeah, it seems to me like every time I've seen you playing live, you're having fun with it still. Like, you haven't lost that, which is it's not always easy to,
for sure.
Once it becomes a job, keeping that joy of playing live and performing for people is a thing, and you seem like you're just loving every minute of it.
Yeah, I've realized it's important to me to not take this so seriously where I'm going to lose my love for it, because even at my job, I love what I do, and I have a job where I get to be creative and sort of do what my original passion was as a little kid, and I get to doodle and draw and design fun things.
So tell us a little bit more about that. How did you get into that? Have you always been an artist?
Yeah, I mean, I've I've been drawing since I was like 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
You know?
Is that what you went to school for?
I went to DePaul University in Chicago, and I had a degree in art and art history with a concentration in graphic design, I think is what my diploma says.
Yeah.
And what's funny about it is I think I learned everything, most things that are worth knowing, I learned on the fly while I worked at Double Door for I think 14 years.
Oh wow.
I was their in-house designer, whatever that logo is that they're still using on their Facebook page as they gear up for their new location or whatever. I designed that.
Cool.
So yeah, I had a lot of time at Double Door to hone my skills, and then I had a friend who worked at Riot Fest who hit me up and said, we have an opening, we need a graphic designer. And it was August and the festival was in September, and they were like, we need someone who can jump in like now.
Yep.
Like would you like to jump in and be our graphic designer? What do you think? And I was like, well, can I have a couple weeks to think about it? And they're like, no, we need you to start Monday. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm quitting my job. Got it. Okay. So yeah, I just took a chance and didn't look back.
Awesome. How did you even get your foot in the door, or get your foot in the Double Door? Like, did
you may be surprised to hear this, but it was Phil Kosh.
Okay, there you go.
Phil started at Double Door as an intern, and I remember
you got Koshed.
Yeah, I remember being friends with him during the Empyrean Seraphine days, and then I would be at Metro flyering for Empyrean, and then he'd be passing out Double Door flyers.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Why are you passing out Double Door flyers?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm interning at this venue at Double Door," and I think at that point, because I think Phil's a couple years older than me, I wasn't 21 yet, so I couldn't go to any Double Door shows.
Yep.
I remember reading all the the ads in the back of the paper, seeing all these shows, and I was like, Smashing Pumpkins, Candlebox, whatever, all these shows that come through Double Door, and I couldn't go. I turned 21. I finally went, and I felt like I had this connection to the place because I knew a guy who worked there.
Yep.
And shortly before I graduated college, I realized that I didn't really have anything lined up as far as like a job or a career. I was like, oh no, and this is I've learned throughout my life, this is a typical problem I have with just procrastination. I thought, well, it's the week before I graduate and I don't have anything going on. And so I they had offered some seminar on campus that was like some options to do like post-graduation. And they, talked about, make a list of 5 people that who might be able to help you, and just reach out to them and offer your services. So I made a list. Phil was at the top, and I called him and I said, hey, I'm about to graduate. I've been building up all these graphic design skills. If you need a designer at Double Door, my services are available. And the timing is right. He said, you know what? We are looking for a designer. It's something that he had been kind of pitching to his boss for a while, but nothing had really stuck. And he said, I'll get you in at Double Door. He's like, you're going to make $100 a week, but we'll get you in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started interning there, turned into a full-time job, and I ended up doing their graphic design stuff, I think for 10 years full-time. And then when I jumped on board with Riot Fest, I worked out a deal with them to just continue making their posters like in my free time remotely. And then at some point after I had moved to Chicago on my own in like 2010 or 2011, I started barbacking there. So I was designing posters by day and then literally like punching in my punch card, putting a dish towel in my pocket, and then carrying buckets of ice up the stairs to barback. And I'm so glad I did that too, because I got to see so many amazing shows.
Sure. I can't help to think, even though I know you're this incredibly talented, number one, guitarist, number two, you got a great, unique, very unique, it's you singing,
Thanks.
Your voice is amazing, and I think that's so rare these days to find somebody with a unique. You know who you're listening to. Your songs are you. Yeah. Again, you're not trying to be anybody else. I mean, we all know you love Weezer, and
Weezer, Fountains of Wayne.
Right. We know where you're coming from, but a little bit of that shines in the music, but like you're still Dan Wade.
Thanks.
And I can't help to think as I'm sitting here and we're taking this all in that like actually it's just all beginning for you. In a way that like I think as we're all kind of there's this big huge boom again for music and stuff or whatever, but I feel like by not even trying, just doing some Fitzgerald shows, whatever this and that or whatever, that maybe like you just doing some solo stuff, this might be like your outlet for happiness besides what you do as an everyday,
Absolutely. And I had an epiphany recently about that, where I was asked early last year by our friends Jimmy and Tommy from The Dog and Everything. They hit me up like last February and they said, we have this new project called Manosaurus. And they sent me a song and I was like, oh, okay, this sounds like Andrew WK, Electric Six meets Weird Al.
Crazy.
Very, very like tongue-in-cheek, very funny, but beneath the surface, they're definitely making a statement about what comes next when you hit middle age, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like I get this. I'm in the same boat as you guys as far as my age and the things I'm thinking about in my life. And so the song was called "I'm Full of Shit," and they said, "We want you to just like rip like the shreddiest solo you can." And so Jimmy had a scratch solo on the track that had a very like, was like a Queens of the Stone Age kind of vibe. And I thought, well, if they're asking me to do this, I'm going to do the best job I possibly can. So I worked up this scratch solo, sent it to them, and they were like, this is great. And I was like, no, it's not great. I said, this is the idea. Do you like the idea? And they were like, well, yeah, we love the idea. I said, give me a couple weeks to learn how to play it well, and I'll send you a polished track, and you guys can reamp it or do whatever you want with it. So at some point they checked in and they were like, hey man, we're gonna mix this song soon, like, is there a status update? And I said, well, I was working on it and I ripped one of the calluses on my fingers because it was beyond what I could even do. And so I said I had to take a week off from playing guitar to let my callus heal because it was too painful to play. So I turned in a solo to them with, if you look at the Logic Pro session, a lot of edits. And they put it out. They were really happy with it. I thought it turned out great. But then maybe because of that, or maybe not because of that, then I got a email or text from my friend Kevin Perkle. And Kevin said, I have a new song I'm putting out. It's this sort of like yacht rock kind of jam, and I want you to rip, he said, I want you to rip some Prince style solos from Purple Rain on this track. Here's the song, let me know what you think. And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't exactly know what I kind of know what he's talking about, but like I'm going to pretend like I know what he's talking about.
Kevin's asking you to rip like a Purple Rain solo?
Yeah.
On his music?
Yeah. And so
this doesn't sit right with me. I need to hear this.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I've never heard like shreddy, really over the top guitar stuff on any of his stuff. No. It's always kind of tastefully understated.
Yes.
And so he played me the song and I was like, okay, this is like, this song wouldn't be out of place on, at like a yacht rock DJ night or something. So I tracked like a just, kitchen sink, just every single thing I could think of, rhythm guitar tracks, leads, whatever. I said, here you go. You and your producer can hash it out, do whatever you want. Like, hopefully this is enough. And he was very happy with it. And the song I don't think it's out yet, but he sent me a rough mix and it sounds like a yacht rock jam with cool guitar work.
I can't wait to hear this.
And so then he hit me up again, and so there's actually a song that I have to get in gear on and record another solo for. But he wants more guitar on another song, and I thought, you know what? I'm remembering that there are people out there that think I'm a good guitar player.
Yeah.
And they want to hear me play, and maybe some people who like my music. So maybe I should shift my focus this year and try to recommit to putting out some more music, because whenever I do, it fills my cup. And even if it doesn't do anything else for me besides just give me the satisfaction of just getting something creative out into the world, it's enough. And I think the last time the most recent song I put out, I think it was was it already 2 years ago? I think it was
it was like 2 years ago, I believe.
2 years ago, I put out a single.
Yeah, what was the name of the single again?
It's called Mick the Dick.
Mick the Dick.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe I didn't hear that one. Wasn't there a little more serious one that you put out?
There's one I put out in 2019 called Gone or Still Going.
Okay.
And that was kind of like an upbeat song, and it was just it was about the idea of, am I getting too old to enjoy playing music, or do I still love it? And in the lyrics, I decide I still love it.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Very smart man. I feel like we're all in that. You're not alone in the. We're feeling, like still want to do it, still want to go out there and rock, but at the same time, we're loving being family guys. Coming home to our kids and all that kind of stuff. We're making music because it feels good.
Yeah.
Not with any other intention to it, and that's why I feel like we're gonna start hearing some of the greatest tunes from people that haven't made music in a while, because I feel like everyone's past that point and now they're just doing it to make music. And I think we're going to be very, very pleased to hear a lot of people coming back and recording some new records and stuff like that are going to be even better than they were. Like Mark just released a new single today, right, for Spitalfield.
Yeah.
And the song blew me away.
Yeah.
He sent it to me a couple weeks ago and asked me to get the art sorted out for him. He had sort of two images that he wanted to combine. There was like a star map, and there was the spiral art that I believe his guitar player's daughter had created. And so he had kind of put together a rough composition, I think, probably in like Canva or something. And so he was like, I want to incorporate these two things. I don't have the skills to do it. Can I hire you to do it? So I put it together. I messed around in Photoshop and created a composition that I thought looked pretty cool. And he had texted me like a link to a mix of the song, and I didn't listen to it. It was one of those things where I saw the text and I was doing something else, and then I just forgot about it. And so sometime later, after I'd already completed the art, he was like, "Hey, here's a final mix. Don't share this with anybody." And I thought, "Oh shit, I never listened to this song."
Huh.
Like, maybe I should have listened to it to get some inspiration for the art. And I put it on, and I was like, "Oh my god, it sounds like," to me it was like a legacy sequel. It was like Star Wars The Force Awakens, but like good. I was like, "Oh my god, it sounds just like Spitalfield." They got Sean O'Keefe to mix it, so it has that touch.
Did he track it too, or just mix it?
That I don't know. He just put it out, and he announced all the credits. He may have. I didn't pay that close enough attention, but I was like, this is a beautiful mix. And the song is about wanting to go back to that feeling that you had when you were young.
Like campfires in the backyard or something.
What a good line. Yeah. And I mean, I told him, I said, "Mark, I really appreciate the fact that you have your solo music that sounds like you, and it's kind of a departure from Spitalfield, and it's more of an exploration of other things that your voice can do, different kinds of songwriting and different kind of sounds that you can access with your talent. But that this song is very much just like a straight up throwback to the old Spitalfield sound. It's like you guys didn't miss a beat, but you hear all the wisdom and age in the lyrics."
Yeah.
So like, it doesn't sound like you recycled like a demo from when you were 19 or something. This sounds like a song that you wrote now, but you were consciously saying like, we're gonna turn on the Spitalfield special sauce for this one, and I just love it.
Yeah, I haven't heard it all the way through yet, but I've heard little snippets of it, and I can't wait to hear. As soon as we get out of here, actually, I'm going to whip it. When we're done, we're going to whip it up. I'm really excited to actually have him on the show. There's a lot I want to unpack with him too. Let's talk a little bit about writing with you. Sure. When you sit down to write a song, what's that like for you?
It's a process that is scary and terrifying to me because I don't really have like a surefire way of doing it. Like sometimes I'll get that lightning bolt idea like in the car, or if I'm at a show and my mind just kind of wandering while I'm watching a band, and all of a sudden like there'll be this melody or something in my head. And I've written songs where I literally run to my car after I watch a show and I sing a chorus in a voice memo on iPhone, and then unpack it at home. And the most recent song I put out, I think that was like week 1 of the COVID lockdown in March. I remember watching the news conference on TV about the city of Chicago. Chicago's going to be shut down. Everyone just hunker down and sit tight. And I thought, well, it's a good time to write a song. So I just picked up my guitar and I played. It's like the first thing you play, right? I picked it up and it was the first thing I played without even thinking, some chord progression. And I said this phrase, "Mick the dick," which is something that when I was younger and I had too much to drink, people would tell me like, dude, when you drink, like you turn into a jerk. And the person who said the phrase "Mick the dick" was one of my brothers. He's like, dude, last night at our other brother's graduation party, you turned into Mick the Dick, man. I was like, Mick the Dick? What's that? And he was like,
I'm going to write a song about that one day.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, it had to be almost 20 years later when I remembered it. And it just popped into my head, and I thought, okay, I'm going to write a song about personal growth. And I'm going to use this Mick the Dick persona as the narrative device for the song. And I think one day, my wife Lindsay was out running errands or something, and so I had some time to myself, and I cranked out the chorus, and I was like, okay, chorus is done. Now I just have to write the rest of the song around it. And so it was sort of like my COVID pet project. Whenever I had time, or I just was sick of like binging Tiger King on Netflix. I would fire up my laptop and try to solve the puzzle of the song. And so I think it took me like a year to finish, because I was just kind of working on it in the background. And then once it was done, I booked a session at my friend's studio in Chicago. My friend Matt, who plays drums in the band Velasca, he owns a studio called the Echo Mill. It's my favorite studio. I booked some time there, and it was in like the end of February 2021. And so I had been playing music with the ex-drummer of Seraphine, Chad, who, once we stole Phil Kosh from Seraphine, I heard from Scott Sweeney that Chad was very angry, and Chad didn't speak to me for years. And when I started playing solo music, Scott actually helped Chad and I reconnect, because he played Chad the stuff I had recorded, and Chad was like, oh, this is really good. And Scott was like, Dan's looking for a drummer. So we started playing together, and so he sort of became, I never really had a band, but he was the guy I always called to play drums on my stuff. So I hit him up and I said, hey, I have a demo for this song. I have a couple other song ideas. I booked studio time. I want you to come lay down some drums for me. We're going to put out some new music. We're going to revive the Dan Wade solo project.
We're gonna demo this bitch.
Yeah. So we got together, we did the studio session, and I remember the very last thing we did was the song "Mick the Dick." And I think we were listening to the playback, and there was something where in the chorus he was like washing really hard on the crash cymbal, and I listened to it and I was like, oh, you know what? Sorry, I don't want to make you redo this, but I really want the chorus to have more of like a pingy ride sound, versus like the washy thing. Would you mind just hitting it one more time? And I knew he was tired, and he was like, sure, So he went in. I think he like nailed the whole song in I think it was like 2 takes, and Matt, who was tracking, was like I got everything I need here. So I was like, cool, man, thanks. Stay safe, COVID or whatever, and we'll talk. And then in April, I got a call from Scott Sweeney on a Saturday morning, and I was at the gym, and I was like, why is Scott Sweeney calling me? I was like, this can't be good. So I left the gym, got in the car, called him back, and he said, hey man, Chad died. And I couldn't believe it. And so, as time passed and I was processing his passing and his loss, it dawned on me that session was the last time he ever played drums. And so the song, Make the Dick, that take is literally the last time he ever played a drum kit. Yeah, so the song has a little bit, I hold it very near and dear because of that. But it made me realize, coming out of that whole experience, that, nothing's guaranteed, life is short, all those sort of cliched thoughts that you think, but, really feeling them and realizing like, you know what, I should get in my basement and bust my guitar out and try to write some more songs, get some more music out, because, one day it will all be over, and, whatever you leave behind is it. So, I'm definitely more inspired this year to get some more music out, play more, and just share it, and even if it only amounts to, getting a solo acoustic gig at a brewery or something, great, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I mean, I just see the potential for you to be this beautiful face playing here and there. Like, I see a very fruitful future coming for you. I just feel like that you're going to gravitate that way. Not that I can tell the future, but I feel like the last couple times I've seen, it just seems like when I see you up there, it seems like you're not done yet.
Oh, thanks.
Like you have more to say and you have more to put out. So we'll see if you do it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if my wife lets me, because it's funny. I think that over the past few years of like not being a very active musician, like whenever I jump back into that mode, it's like it kind of shakes up the household, right? Because it's like, well, I said yes to playing a show, but we have 2 band practices scheduled, or 3 band practices, and then that means that I'm not home that evening to help, put our kid to bed and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's a very like delicate balance where I have to make sure that whatever energy I'm putting into new music or creative endeavors, that I'm not taking any energy away from my family, because that's number one.
Well, that sort of thing gets easier as your kids get older.
Yeah.
But then also, you get older as your kids get older. It's kind of you gotta...
That's one thing I've wondered about, and I'm not thinking of any names or faces right now, but I just feel anecdotally, looking on social media, I've seen musicians that I know, friends that I have, and I feel like maybe there was a time when I didn't hear that much from them, or they weren't really active or putting out music, and now I'm seeing more, and I'm saying, oh, this guy's playing more shows, and I'm like, oh, because their kids aren't in diapers anymore.
Smoking Popes is the perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Josh is straight up like, my kids are, they're out. They're going to college, whatever. He's like, I'm free. Yeah,
kindergarten starts, you get a little bit of that. You're like, oh, kids, I got my days.
Right.
And then eventually college starts, and you're like, well, here I go, life, we're back, baby.
Yeah, but being in a band can definitely rile up the household for sure. I'm a victim of that as well. Not that it's not, we don't have permission to create in our household, but you have responsibilities at this point, and it's hard to have band practice tomorrow at 11 a.m. and film a podcast,
Yeah, and every household, every family has a different dynamic and, different... what do you call it?
Some shop at Costco, some shop at Menards.
Yeah, Sam's Club.
Is that where you're going?
That's exactly where I'm going. Some people get the rebate, and some people have to pay for a card.
How taxing is it to create art all day long, and then do you get to come home and wipe your hands of it, or does that only take place at the office? Are you working from home, or how's that work for you?
I work in the Riot Fest office, 5 days a week, and it's a lot of learning how to turn the creativity on.
Yeah,
being like, okay, don't be precious about this. Just start with any idea. Put the pencil on the paper or the iPad, and just start sketching something. Any idea, but we have a looming deadline. There's something coming up, some kind of announcement, whatever. So I've learned to just be kinder to myself when it comes to not overthinking and just being okay, we just did something at Riot Fest where we did a holiday ticket pre-sale, and the idea that me and the other people on our creative team were kicking around was something that referenced a Christmas bee horror movie, because we just thought that was funny. And our creative director immediately texted me the poster for Silent Night, Deadly Night, where it shows a chimney with Santa's arm coming out holding an axe. And I was like, done. There's my creative prompt. I can run with this. So we made a loose parody of that, where instead of Santa, it was an arm with a Santa outfit on, holding a pair of Riot Fest tickets. And then in recent years, we've introduced this sort of bunny mascot. I did a sketch of a bunny on I guess you'd call it just a contact sheet of a bunch of merch ideas. Showed it to my boss, and he was like, "What's that?" I don't know, just stupid bunny that I drew. And he was like, "That's something. Roll with that." I'm like, okay. So that's sort of our mascot now. So yeah, I gave the Santa thing, there was bunny ears coming out of the chimney, and finished product I was really happy with, but it was something where I was like, don't think too hard about this. It's fun. We're selling tickets to a music festival. It's a party.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it fun, keep it easy. So that's my day job. And then, I go home and, try to spend time with my daughter. I'm the bedtime guy and the morning wake up guy. And my wife Lindsay does pretty much all the heavy lifting because she works from home. And so when I'm home, I try my hardest to be present and just hang out with my kid. And then when Lindsay and my daughter are in bed, I have 2 or 3 hours where I'm wired, I'm awake, and I'm kind of a night owl. So I use that time to work on freelance design projects, where, I did the flyer for that Dog and Everything Christmas show, the art for the new Spitalfield single. And it's all just kind of I get requests that just trickle in here and there from friends or acquaintances. And, it's all pretty fun stuff, but there is that feeling I have sometimes where I'm man, I feel a lot of my free time is just monetized, where once my family time is done and everyone's asleep, now I gotta clock in for my second job, which is the same as my first job, which is designing stuff, looking at a computer screen or an iPad screen or whatever. And so I have some projects on my plate right now that I've committed to that are all moving along, and once I get those completed, I want to refocus on music and at least take a couple weeks, maybe a month, and instead of designing and doing freelance stuff, go down in the basement, pick up the guitar, fire up the Logic Pro, the GarageBand, whatever, and see what happens.
Yeah. So interesting story. You found a guitar that you liked, and how did this? Tell me the story. You sent it off to my brother, and you said, "Hey, how do you like that guitar?" And I like refresh me on this story.
Is this the electrical guitar company Jags thing?
Yes.
Okay. So I know that your brother and I, huge Nirvana fans. I know that he has a Kurt Cobain signature Jaguar, and him and I have talked about that a bunch, and I've always liked the idea of, so Fender has the Jags thing that they released in the late 90s, and the whole marketing angle was that this was the guitar that Fender was working on with Kurt Cobain before his passing. And the idea was that when Kurt Cobain met with the guitar builders at Fender, he had taken a couple pictures of a Mustang, a couple pictures of a Jaguar, and he had cut them and taped them together.
Yeah, put them on paper or something.
Yeah. And so it was just like, just make the top half a Mustang, the bottom half the offset Jaguar, and that was the idea. And the resulting guitar that Fender put out didn't really look like that. It looked like when you take a JPEG and you don't size it correctly and you make it like really skinny. And I remember being a teenager and seeing that guitar and being like,
yeah, not that cool.
It doesn't look that cool.
No.
Yeah.
It's like watching CGI in a movie. You're like, then that's fake.
Yeah.
So I'd always love the idea of like, I would love to have like a Nirvana guitar. So years later, there's this company, electrical guitar company. I was introduced to them through the guitar player from Jack's Mannequin, Bobby Raw. He played them, and Treaty Paris toured with Jack's Mannequin and got to be friends with those guys. And I was enamored with his beautiful, shiny aluminum guitars. So he gave me the number, or the email rather, of Kevin, the guy who owns Electrical Guitar Company, and was like, hit Kevin up, tell him like he'll build any guitar you want. So I had a custom guitar built from Electrical Guitar Company in like 2012. It was their Series 2 model. I had it built out to my specs, and it was an experience where once I got the guitar and I had lived with it for a while and played it, I realized I didn't love it. And I was like, this is a beautiful guitar. It is amazingly crafted, and you know what? I just don't love the feel of playing an aluminum neck.
Yeah.
I need a wooden neck. So I sold it. I think I put it on Reverb, and it sold in 1 hour.
Wow.
And I was like, I'll make it. I'll see if I can turn a profit on this. I think it cost me like $2,200. I was like, I'll put it up for $25, and or not 25, $2,500. And I think an hour later, I got a notification like, your guitar has sold. It's like, oh wow, I should have sold it for more.
Yeah, right.
And I was searching at some point a couple years ago. I was searching the like Electrical Guitar Company hashtag on Instagram because I was like, I want to know if there's some guy out there who has it, and I found it. Some guy in Texas had it, and he plays in a doom metal band with super down-tuned guitars. I was like, perfect. I think the guitar found its way to the right guy, because those guitars are perfect for that kind of sound.
Yeah.
But turns out Kevin from Electrical Guitar Company is a huge Nirvana fan, and he's when he was more active on social media, he would post about Nirvana all the time. I think at one point he was able to hold the black Strat that Kurt played on the Live at the Paramount performance.
Whoa.
With the bumper sticker on it.
Yeah. It's beautiful as a rock in a cop's face.
Vandalism. Yeah. And yeah, he posted a photo with that guitar. So yeah, I was like, okay, this guy's a hardcore fan. And he, or someone at his company, designed what they felt was a truer Jag stang with the Mustang top and the offset Jaguar bottom. It's beautiful finish. And I had seen one before, but it had an actual like Jag stang neck. And I had read up on those, and I heard the necks on actual Jag stangs are like not fun to play. And I thought, you know what? Maybe at some point someone will build one that has a different neck. And so the one that I saw had it had a made in Mexico Jaguar neck. I thought this guitar was amazing, and you know I wasn't really in the market for a new guitar, but I showed it to Darren, showed it to you, and
I bought it.
You bought it. What a twist.
Yeah, what did my brother say to you? Like, don't show this to my brother, he'll buy it.
He did say that.
Well, when we get done with the podcast, we'll crack it out. But it is yours if you ever want it. I only bought it so no one else would buy it because you seem to be to fancy it quite like you need to have this. And at the time, you're like, you know, oh, we'll see if I get it or not. And I thought, well, this thing could sell because it's a badass guitar. And I figured, well, I'll buy it. And this way you can buy it for me. And I actually might even have saved you a few bucks, to be honest with you. I said, hey, how about you take this for this? And he said, all right, I'll take that. So I paid for it, and I have it with us. And you can take it home and wail on it. And if you decide that you want it and it is everything, you can buy it whenever you decide you want to buy it.
Wow.
Or I will just, hold on to it. So,
and just have another badass guitar.
Or maybe I'll buy it.
Yeah.
No. Yes.
I'll give you $20.
No.
Cash.
No. This is Wade's guitar.
You'll probably find the parts online and then build your own.
Yeah. Although I don't know, the body must be custom, right?
Yeah.
That's the tricky part.
I think it is, and I think I've only seen them sell 2.
Yeah.
But that tells me that they're able to produce them.
You know, I'm just gonna go buy a Squire Mustang and a Squire Jaguar, get my jigsaw out, cut the thing, glue it together.
We've been buying a lot of guitars lately.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, he's been buying more than I have, but I've also told him that he can't buy certain ones because he just has too many of the same ones.
That's true, but the difference is I buy cheap ones and I make them nice.
Sure.
Yeah.
You buy nice ones and you make them shitty. No.
Well, we all have our preference, but I bought that George Harrison guitar, the reissue of the George Harrison.
The Rosewood Telly?
The third. So this is the third mock-up of it, I believe.
Yeah.
The first one, there was only 100 made.
Yeah.
The second one, there was 1,000, and this last one, there was 1,000.
Okay.
I happened to get my hands on one of the last 1,000. And it's like worth $4,200 right now, and I think I got it for like $2,200, $2,300.
Wow.
Probably best guitar investment I've bought so far.
That's one of the most magical guitars that I've ever picked up.
Yeah. I watched a demo video of somebody playing it. I think they played like something, on the solo for something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds like it.
Yeah. No, it's an incredible guitar.
Hey, as long as we're talking guitars, what was your first guitar?
First guitar was this brings it back to Kurt Cobain. Funny enough, so my mom's best friend was my godmother, and I got bitten by the guitar bug when I was 12 in 7th grade. My buddy Larry got one for his bar mitzvah, and I went into his garage after school. He had a black Squire Strat, plugged it into his crate amp.
Yep.
And it was transformative. I was like, I found my thing.
Yeah.
And I begged my parents, I was like, I want to play guitar. Like, this is my thing. And they were like, you played the cello and you were like last chair in the orchestra. Like, music is not your thing.
Yeah.
We spent all this money on cello lessons and instrument rental, and you hated it. Like, no. And I was like, no, I think this is my thing. So my mom told her best friend, and she's like, well, she's like, we have an old guitar like in our crawl space that my husband doesn't play anymore. My mom was like, no. And she was like, I could bring it over. My mom was like, no, it's okay. She's like, no, I'll bring it over.
Yeah.
So I was on a Boy Scout camping trip, and all I could think about the whole time was just guitar. So I get home that Sunday smelling like campfire, and my dad goes, your fairy godmother dropped something off for you over the weekend. Let me go upstairs and get it. And in my mind, I was like, it's not a guitar. It's probably like an old shirt or something. It's probably something stupid. Like, it's not a guitar. And my dad came down with a fucking guitar. I was speechless. And it was a red Epiphone. I don't remember the model number, but
was it the Kurt Cobain Epiphone?
Yes.
The ET something?
Yes.
Holy shit.
I got bleach, and I'm, pouring over the liner notes, looking at the picture, and I look on the inside cover, and I was like, hey, that's my guitar.
Holy shit.
So yeah, it was one of the early guitars that he played.
Yeah.
And the one that I have, I think, was a later model because it had on the black pickguard, it has like this decorative Epiphone E, the E in the middle.
Yeah.
And the early models didn't have that. Mine does. So that guitar was my starter guitar.
And you still have it.
Still have it. It's on my wall. My godmother passed some years ago, so it's my prized possession.
Yeah.
It plays terribly. I've gotten it set up professionally. Still doesn't play well. It doesn't really sound good, but yeah, it's a very sentimental thing. And it's got, like, I think at one point I got like an Old Navy fleece, and they packaged the fleece with like a sticker. That's it. And so I put an Old Navy sticker on the back that I can't get off. It's still on. I was like, why did 13-year-old me do that? But what happened was I had started my first band in junior high, and we were, I think, in my basement practicing. We had begged our way onto our first gig. We were going to open for the 8th grade dance. It was a DJ'd event, and the DJ was parents of a girl that I knew who like lived down the block from us, and her parents had this DJ company, and they were like, well, okay, the teachers were like, can these boys play? Like, they have this little band. They're like, our DJ, like, we're contracted to start at 7 p.m. They can play from 6:30 to 7. So we're rehearsing, and something happened. The strap broke on my guitar. Guitar hits the floor. The nut broke off. Shit. And we had a gig in like a week. And so I was like, Mom, Dad, this is a sign. I need to get a real guitar. And they were like, well, they're expensive. And so they had told me to play this old beater guitar, and I should save up my money to get a real guitar. And I said, well, I'm 12. I can't legally get a job. And they're like, we can get a paper route. I was like, okay, done. So I did that, the junk paper that comes like every other Wednesday or whatever. That was my job. I made 20 cents a paper. I saved up $400. So my dad took me to Guitar Center, played every guitar I could get my hands on, and I was set on a Telecaster, and I played a Telecaster. I didn't love it. I was like, I don't like this. So there was this Strat that was sitting like on a stand. It wasn't like up on the wall, so it was like more accessible, and it was like a nice American-made Strat. It had a matching headstock, which was different. Like the other Strats didn't have that, but I guess it was like an anniversary edition. It was like a 1996 anniversary. $600. So I think an hour went by, and my dad was like, I think you found the guitar. And he goes, you haven't put that one down. I was like, wow, I never thought I'd be a Strat guy, but okay. So I was like, well, I don't have the money to cover it. And my dad said, well, surprise, surprise, I'll cover the rest. This is your 8th grade graduation gift. And he covered the $200. Yeah, so that was my first, the Epiphone and then the Strat were my first like real guitars. And the Strat is still like, that's still like in the arsenal. If I'm like, I played on some, I play in this band Ryan Powers and the Secret Weapons, and it's sort of like a, it's a really cool like Americana sort of band. And I was tracking guitars for a new song that he's been working on, and I was trying every combination out. You know, the Les Paul didn't sound good, the Telecaster didn't sound good, the Jazzmaster didn't sound good. I was like, well, I guess I'll try my Strat, neck pickup Strat. I was like, done. This is the best.
Yeah.
This one wins.
I'm jealous of that Jazzmaster you got. That's badass.
I can't believe that I got it. You know, it was all because, you know, my daughter needed to be in the NICU right after she was born. So Lindsay and I were just sitting in the NICU, you know, watching her chest rise and fall, and just, you know, in that experience, time doesn't exist. You know, you're like,
yeah.
You know, the nurse comes in and they're like, okay, we're doing a shift change, and we're like, what? Like, yeah, you've been in here for 6 hours. You're like, oh my God, we didn't even know. So you're in this time vacuum with your newborn. So I'm just on Reverb, you know, just like looking at guitars. So I would always do this search on Reverb. I would just search for Jazzmaster Mastery, because I wanted a Mastery bridge. And so there was the one, it was like a Sunburst. It was a made in Japan model, and it had the Lawler pickups, the locking tuners, and the Mastery bridge. I was like, those are all the modifications I would have made anyway.
Yep.
It's like $1,500, and I think I made an offer for $1,400 or something. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And 5 minutes later, I got the notification, seller has accepted your offer. And I was like, no, I didn't want them to. And I was like, Linz? She was like, yeah. I'm like, I just bought a guitar. And she was like, well, it's your money. And I said, this is the last like stupid purchase I'm going to make for myself for a long time. So yeah, that was 2.5 years ago. But yeah, that guitar is awesome. It sounds so good.
Dude, it's beyond badass. Beyond badass. So going forward, is there any upcoming shows that you're going to be performing in that we should know about?
No, I have nothing on the books.
Oh, what the fuck, Dan?
I got nothing on the books. I have nothing to promote.
What's up with Punk's Not Dad?
Punk is Dad.
Punk is Dad. I fucked it up. Wait, we're gonna edit that. What's up with Punk is Dad?
Would you say Punk's Not Dead or Punk's Not Dead?
I think I said Punk's Not Dead, which doesn't make any sense at all.
Punk is Dad is effectively done because Pete Faulkner, who's sort of like he's the leader of Punk is Dad. He created it and brought everybody else on who was involved with it. He took a job in Aspen. He works at this music venue in Aspen now. Very busy with his own family. So there is the idea in my head of like, well, me and the other guys in Punk is Dad could, in theory, like, you know, carry the torch and keep playing.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just all about, like, a band like that. Like, I just want to use it as an excuse to see my friends and play with my friends. So
yeah,
you know, we're holding a spot at the table for him if he ever wants to play a Punk is Dad gig again, and maybe he times a trip home that coincides with, you know, a date that makes sense. But he has a very strict rule. We only play Fitzgerald's in Berwyn.
That's it. Yeah,
he's like, we're not gonna, because I think we had, you know, maybe some inquiries about playing other places, and he was like, no, I just want to play Fitzgerald's.
That's awesome.
Very exciting to see that they just made the National Registry.
Amazing. Yeah. I live pretty close to there. Lindsay and I have gotten to know the owners a little bit. They're great people. It's a great venue. And they have the Wednesday $5 burger special. Unreal.
Dude.
One of the best burgers in the area, and you can get it for $5 on a Wednesday. I love that place.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with it. You know, Ides of March got their start kind of like back in the day. You know,
it's a great place.
I mean, it's just been around obviously forever and providing incredible music.
Yeah, I'm so lucky that Treaty of Paris got to play there. You know, whenever Treaty of Paris plays now, we're like, maybe this is the last show. You know, there's never a plan. And after this show, I remember thinking, like, if this is the last time we do it, I'll be happy. But, you know, I mean, I hope we get to play again, because every time it brings me such joy. But I was like, wow, being on stage at Fitzgerald's, one of my new favorite venues, and, you know, just the vibe there is so good.
Yeah.
The show was sold out. Like, we got to see all these familiar faces. You know, I think 2 songs in, we had the one song where, you know, you do the breakdown chorus before the end of the song, and, you know, turn the mic over to the crowd, and people were still singing it back.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to be in the crowd for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I was just going to say something about... so, when we had you guys on at that show, that was kind of like my next question, is I was saying, well, are you guys back, kind of? Are you just, you know, doing this when you get an opportunity? So that's kind of like, basically, in a nutshell, it's always going to keep going. It's never going to end. Just, will this be the last one? Will there be another one?
We're always going to leave the door open, but I think following, like, looking at the Dog and Everything, Spitalfield, other bands that are in similar positions where, I mean, Spitalfield is still touring and they're more active than we are, but even bands like, you know, regional bands that we're friends with, like Ludo, where they've managed to, you know, I think Ludo for the past 4 or 5 years have put out a single. You know, I think, you know, they have enough for like an EP now.
Yeah.
We have yet to do that, and we have so many old song demos and unused ideas that we could easily work up into shape, and, like, you know, some of them are great. We just never finished them, and I just don't know if the other guys are as motivated as I am, because for me, I'm like, oh, get in the studio at Treaty of Paris, like, I don't need a reason, like, let's go. And, you know, I think it's a cool idea, but then you start getting into logistics and, like, well, who's going to pay for it? And, you know, it gets a little scary. It's my hope that before the next time Treaty of Paris plays, we get in the studio, and I would love to put out, like, something where we could press it onto, like, a 45 and do, you know, like a A-side and a B-side thing, and then, you know, put it out on streaming services. But we did that. We didn't do the vinyl pressing, but we did that in 2017, where we recorded 2 songs that we always loved that never made it on a record. The song Miles Away that we should have put on a record, we didn't, and another song called Lanes and Avenues that was just the sort of B-side song that we love playing. And I think ever since we started doing these sort of like one-off reunion shows, we played both songs at every show because we love them. We did that in 2017. We felt like they were both pretty well received, and we were happy with how they turned out, and hope we can do it again. It's just a matter of, do we pick a couple old songs to rework? Should we, you know, get an email chain going and start writing something new? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in that position as well, because it's like, you know, I'm finally starting to understand, like, when I said, will the Smoking Popes ever put out another record? Or, you know.
Right.
It's like, we're not in control of that. It's such a difficult thing to do, to get everyone together in the same room to want to do that again and put out a record. Who's paying for it? What, you know, there's so many different little things that have to come together for that to actually happen. So, well, I really hope that you guys do. It's not. From what I get from the vibe of it is that you guys will just continue to always. You're never going to break it up per se, but if time aligns, it'll happen.
I hope so.
As long as you keep having fun.
Right. Yeah. I think, and you guys saw from the show, like, there's definitely this, like, joy that
there's a love for each other, for sure.
We communicate on stage, and we actually we had talked about there was a potential opportunity to play kind of a big show this summer, and it was going to be with a band that we love and we're friends with, and the money was going to be, I thought, pretty good. And
wait, you guys get paid to play?
We got, I mean, at the Fitzgerald show, I mean, yeah, I mean, it was a good payday for all of us.
I don't think I've got more than $15 in my entire life.
I know. Well, that's how it is, like, with my solo gigs. Like, I'm just so used to, like, yeah, I don't, you know.
Be lucky if they give you a beer.
You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, even when at the end of the Fitzgerald show, I stayed to settle the show, and Will, the owner, came out to, like, write the checks. And I was like, hey, we don't have an LLC. Can you write us like 5 checks? And he was like, sure. And he's like, do you want a beer? And I was like, oh my God, a free beer? Like a beer? Like, yeah.
We're coming back here again.
Yeah.
Next week.
We had an opportunity to play a show this summer, and it didn't make sense for Phil. He had a work obligation that he already kind of has booked out that would have coincided for that same weekend. And so he was like, listen, if you guys want to do it, get a Phil in. And I was like, no, like being in this band now, it's about our friendships. It's about reconnecting with you guys. And it's about like celebrating this thing that we built that people still, you know, care enough about to come out and see maybe once a year or twice a year or whatever. So yeah, I was like, no, we will not be pursuing this show any further with like a fill-in guitar player. Complete waste of time. So yeah, we'll play again when it makes sense and when everybody can be in the same room.
What's the future of Riot Fest? Strong and long?
Yeah, I mean, we're Riot Fest is back in Douglas Park in Chicago this year. You know, last year was really challenging with the, you know, finding out about changing venues and back and forth. And I'm fortunate that I'm not a part of any of those conversations with city officials. I just make the art. So everything that I've been told about the planning is that we're full speed ahead for Chicago this year, and that there's a lot of cool stuff in store to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Riot Fest, as far as, you know, getting amazing bands and you know, just really kind of making the focus of the fest.
By the way, can I just say,
yeah,
the art is fucking kick-ass.
Oh, thank you.
Like, cohesive.
If they replaced you, it wouldn't. You almost made
the whole festival would go down in flames instantly.
Thank you. It's me, and I have to share credit with my the other half of our art department, Monique Duran. They're amazing, and we always joke about how between the two of us we share one brain cell.
Yep.
Yeah, we're kind of like you know, the Wonder Twins. But yeah, Monique and I have a great friendship, great relationship, great working relationship, and you know, we're able to put out stuff that's very cohesive. We're working on some really fun stuff right now that hopefully makes it past the approval process for the people that need to approve it for Valentine's Day. That's some cool illustrated stuff, and the fun part about it is that I'll create the initial sketch or drawing, and then I'll give it to Monique and say, okay, you create your drawings for it, and these are the brushes I'm using on my iPad and Procreate, the app that we use to draw. Here's the color palette, here's the initial drawing, here's the vibe. Go nuts, do your thing with it. Yep. And then you put our drawings side by side, and I mean, if you look closely, you can see, okay, these might have been drawn by 2 different people, but very cohesive, and our styles complement each other very well. So I'm very fortunate to work with another super talented artist, and
it's also really refreshing in kind of an era of terrible AI art.
Yeah,
that is showing up everywhere. That's just so instantly apparent. As like, oh, they just fucking type the prompt in some AI bullshit and it spit out this garbage.
Don't even get Wade going on that. We'll be here for 3 hours.
You see the steam coming out of my ears?
Yeah.
I think AI, like, it's here to stay. But I think that, like anything, you just have to learn how to harness it as a tool and use it to your advantage while still maintaining integrity. So, like, yeah.
Give me an example how it can be used to inspire but not take over.
I'll give you an example. So last year for Riot Fest, I did a t-shirt design, and I had a vision where I was like, I want to do something with a dinosaur on it. We haven't done anything for Riot Fest that has a dinosaur on it, and this could be something that, if it's done right, we could put it on kid-size shirts, and it'll appeal to a certain demographic who would like a colorful T-shirt that has like a T-Rex on it, and
which is everybody, by the way.
Yeah,
that's the whole.
It's
world.
like it's a universal thing that I think everyone can agree on, that dinosaurs are cool.
Yeah.
So I had the idea to draw a T-Rex, but I wanted it to be holding a Chicago-style hot dog. That's absurd. It's silly. It's very Riot Fest.
No way. Right in the pocket over here for our likes. Go ahead.
So, T-Rex has like tiny hands with the two fingers. I was like, I don't know how to draw a T-Rex hands. So I put in the AI prompt. I was like, T-Rex holding a hot dog, and it spit out a ton of images. Most of them were terrible, but through looking at those images, I was able to create reference drawings that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to access, or that I would have just wasted tons of time on going down like the Google rabbit hole of like, I need to find the right picture of a T-Rex hand holding something.
Yeah.
So through these dozens of AI images, I was able to be like, okay, that's what my brain needed to see to have like a reference to draw a stupid, T-Rex hand.
Yeah, holding
a hot dog. So yeah, I use it as a tool. That way it is like a reference. But yeah, on the other side of that, I'm seeing some really big bands. I think I saw the band CKY put out a tour poster, or an ad mat, as we say in the biz.
Yeah.
Right. That was 100% AI. I was like, oh, this isn't even like trying to hide it. And they got slammed in the comments.
Yeah.
I've seen a few other bands do that too. And people are getting, it's like, I know I mentioned CGI in movies earlier, but it really is like that, where when CGI first started happening, your eye wasn't really trained. So you were like, I know I'm seeing something that's not real, but I don't really know what I'm seeing. And then you started seeing it more and more, and you were like, okay, now when I see something that's like an obvious CGI thing, like I've been watching Disney movies with my kids, so like the remake of Beauty and the Beast with like this terrible CGI beast, I watched that, I was like, how did this get approved? Like, this looks terrible. Total uncanny valley. So I feel like people are starting to get good at detecting that.
Yeah.
Just, the average person. So like I've been seeing stuff get put out, whether it's festivals or big tours, and you look in the comments and they're like, oh, this is AI art for sure. And it gets negative feedback. And I think sometimes the people doing that just sort of like hedge their bets, and they're like, well, some people are going to complain, but we can delete the comments, and we'll still sell tickets. Who cares?
Right.
But some of them will probably get spooked and not feel good about that negative attention. So all I can say is that, at my job, my boss still values our brains. So hopefully there'll be lots of stupid merch designs and weird stuff coming down the pipeline.
Right. I mean, like, you can't take away the human spirit.
Right.
I mean, that's something I think that is going to sell tickets more than the computer.
Yeah. I think the thing that we try to drive home in like the look of the Riot Fest stuff is like, I think I want people to, on a subconscious level and on a conscious level, realize that what they're looking at is the product of an independent music festival. Mm-hmm. This isn't like, corporate soulless fest where it's like, oh, we're just gonna book the top performing artists on TikTok.
No, it's very curated.
Right. And so in the spirit of it being curated and like, oh, you didn't think you would see a lineup with Dinosaur Jr. and the Village People on it, but now that you see it, you like it, and you want to go, and because that's curated by people. So we want the art to reflect that too. So
I just realized it's scary is that in 10-20 years from now, it's going to be like trendy to have artwork that's like purposefully like the AI aesthetic with like mangled hands with 20 fingers. Like that's gonna be cool somehow.
Right.
It's gonna be throwbacky and like, oh man.
That's crazy to think about.
Hopefully I'll be dead by then.
We might all be.
Yeah.
Well, if we hit up Portillo's after this,
Which if they're open, I'm going.
yeah. Well, Dan, I would thoroughly love to let people know where we can find your solo work.
So my solo work is, it's on all streaming services. I did a little bit of a rebrand a couple years ago because when I initially came out with my solo stuff, I decided to call myself Daniel Wade because that's the name on my birth certificate. And as it turns out, no one calls me that. And I started meeting people who would be like, "Oh, hi, Daniel. Nice to meet you." And I'd be like, "Why is this guy calling me Daniel?" Like, "Oh, yeah, because it says it on all my website stuff." What an idiot I am. And so, I didn't put out music for quite a while. And I even took down my EPs that I had recorded. And I don't know, I was going through a period where I just was like, I don't know if I even want my music to be out there. I don't know if I want to play music anymore. And then in 2019, I put out like my first single that I put out in a while. And I decided this is going to be my opportunity to rebrand with a controversial new name, Dan Wade, instead of Daniel. Like everyone's called me that my whole life. Some people even will be like, "Oh, hey, Dan Wade." Dan, where they combine your first and last name and just mush it up into one word. I should have done that from the beginning. Don't know if it would have moved the needle for me or created more opportunities. But Dan Wade is where people can find my music: Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music. I think I use DistroKid to put out my stuff, and so it tells me all the stuff. It's on Google Play and Amazon Music. It's on something called Deezer. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I hear about Deezer all the time. I don't know too much about that one either.
It's Deezer.
Deezer, yeah.
Nice balls.
Oh.
I don't know. That's what I get from it. It's a weird branding choice.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna cut that part out. Don't worry.
We just started a service called Wendy's. Wendy's Nuts.
Wendy's Nuts. Well, on that note, Dan, is Portillo's even open?
I don't know. I hope so.
Hopefully I didn't talk too long for us to miss our Portillo's window.
No, not at all. I mean, like, I don't even want Portillo's. I haven't ate all day.
Hey, what do you call nuts on the wall?
I don't know.
Walnuts. What do you call nuts on your chest? Chestnuts.
You're a funny guy.
That's an old joke.
I thought you were going to say D's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was coming next. Trust me.
That's
predictable with this guy over here.
Distraction, misdirection.
Dan, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. I know that I can tell long stories. Once you wind me up, I talk a lot, but
I mean, that's exactly why you're on the show.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you.